Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing a bit more Lash Gordon, which is a deck I've played a little bit in the past, and it's one of the options I'm considering for the European Legacy Masters tournament I'm going to in September. So I'd like to get in some more games with it and sort of innovate in the space a little bit. I see that where I added Magus to the Moon in one of my previous videos is now caught on a bit, which is nice to see. I think this is a really good choose target, but let's talk about this deck and what it's trying to do. So, we are a Thassa's Oracle deck, which means we want to have an empty library and put Thassa's Oracle into play to just win the game off the trigger. To achieve this, we have Paradigm Shift, which turns our graveyard into our library and then exiles our library, or the other way around. But so effectively, you can have like one or two cards in your library or no cards if you're casting early enough, and then you can just win that way. We also have Thought Lash. This gives us a way of protecting ourselves because we can prevent damage by exiling cards, and then once we are ready to, we can exile all the cards in our library and then play Thassa's Oracle. So that's the combo. We have ways of finding the combo in the form of Step Through and Impulse. And the reason these are the things we're using to find is Impulse doesn't draw a card, so it doesn't really get caught up by Bowmasters, which is everywhere right now. So that's kind of why I want to try it here. And we are also running Chalice of the Void. So Chalice of the Void, we're going to be putting on one and basically ignoring for ourselves, apart from our Flusterstorm, which still does stuff underneath the Chalice, because the copies happen, you just don't get the original version. So this is a weird one that I'm not really sold on being in the deck with Chalice, but I want to try it out because people seem to run it, and there are a lot of people who play this deck a lot more than I do, so I'm taking their cues from this. So we have Chalice to try and lock out stuff, and with Grixis Delver being, in my opinion, the best deck in the format, it seems good to have something that's good against Delver decks and shuts off a lot of their stuff. One of the main things this does is cancels out Pyroblast, which is obviously a big problem when our deck is mono blue. So having this is quite useful for that. We've got some Force of Wills and a Force of Negation because we're in blue. We need to defend ourselves a little bit. Obviously, Force of Negation can only defend on our opponent's turn, which isn't really when we're trying to win the game. But there's some permanents we need to stop coming into play, you know, like disruptive prison-y pieces that might jam us up, and just combo decks that can go in underneath us because we're not like a turn one combo deck. So that's this part of the deck. We have a bit of fast mana, the Lotus Petals, which also combo with our Ancient Tombs. So we've got a reasonable amount of fast mana, so we can make things like Thought Lash on turn 2. And then we have a few little targets as well. So Step Through is mainly just going to be finding us Thassa's Oracle. But sometimes it will find us a Malevolent Hermit, so we can use this to push through. Sometimes it will find us this Teferi, Mage of Zhalfir, which again lets us do what we want without having to worry about our opponent's spells. Maze of the Moon, which can just shut down entire decks, which I think is really good. And we have the 4 Lotus Petal and the 4 Cavern of Souls to cast this. Just seems really good to me. And I'm glad that more people are adopting this. And we have an Aether Channeler, which is our emergency go-to if we need to bounce a permanent. So we can return another target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So if we need to, like one of their scary things slip through and we need to buy ourselves some time, we can do that. We can also use it to bounce something that's stopping us maybe activating our Thought Lash, for example. So they can have like a Pithing Needle on Thought Lash, and we can bounce that and then do our thing. So there's some good options here. This makes more sense to me than things like Brazen Borrower that we've had in here before, because it's a wizard and we can find it when we need it. We've got a couple of Otawaras if we need to bounce, a whole bunch of islands because we're mono blue and we've got a pretty safe mana base here, and some Cavern of Souls to make sure that when we do cast our Thassa's Oracle, we can do it uncounterably as well. So that's the main deck. We're aiming to combo off sort of by turn 4-ish usually. Sideboard wise, let's have a look. We got 4 Faerie Macabre for Graveyard Hate. We've got 2 Null Rods and 2 Energy Flux for all these sorts of Painter and 8 cast decks. And obviously Null Rod's pretty good against Storm. Energy Flux is pretty reasonable as well. We've got a couple of Echoing Truth because we might just need more ways of bouncing things, right? And that's what we're going to run. We got some defense grids. If our opponent is just a controller that's just trying to stop us from doing our thing, defense grid can really jam them up. And we got a couple more Force of Negations for decks that go in underneath us. So decks that go in underneath us, we got this. Decks that go try and stop us, we have this. And then our other tools are sort of matchup dependent a little bit there for the most part. So that's it for this deck tech. I'm quite happy to be playing this one again. I enjoyed this last time I played it. I think it's quite a powerful deck. I don't think this is the right build, but I want to try the Chalice build out and experiment and explore the space. I've got some other ideas I would like to try. You're probably going to see this on the channel a few more times in coming weeks. Alright, remember to like and subscribe. And when you finish watching the video, why not leave me a comment, let me know what you think. And check out the Patreon below if you want to have a look at what I've got on there. I do articles about different Dark Depths builds. And yeah, let's play some Legacy. So this is our opening hand. We're on the play. We don't have either combo piece. We've just got these very slow impulses. I don't think we want this one. This has all of our stuff. We just need a bit of mana. I think we can keep this. And we'll get rid of our red card that we're not really using right now. And let's hope we can just play some spells and win the game, right? We've got 2 Thought Lashes, so we can try and force the first one through. Oh, the second one through. I'm making him spend resources on our first one. Our opponents are Yori on deck as well, so if they're on the Death and Taxes side of things, they're going to be quite slow here. So that's going to be handy for us. Our mana base is pretty solid against what they're doing here. So we can deploy the Thought Lash next turn and then follow up with the Thassa's Oracle the turn after. But they could play something like a Rishadan Port here, which could be annoying for us. Could slow us down a turn while they tick up their Aether Vial. But if we are looking at Death and Taxes, which seems likely given the Aether Vial playing start and the Yorion, then we should be okay. The main way they can interact with the actual Thought Lash itself is using Skyclave Apparition. But we can remove our library in response to the right number of cards. They can obviously kill our Thassa's Oracle, but if we don't have any cards in the library, it doesn't really matter. Okay, a fetch land. So we might be looking at there's a few variants I've seen lately. Okay, Stoneforge Mystic. This could even be a Cephalid Breakfast deck. Or Aether Vial. Esper Vial. Alright, so that's what we're looking at. Let's play a Thought Lash here. They haven't shown us any blue mana yet. So we have the win next turn. We can prevent the damage we're going to take this turn. Caracas, that doesn't help them. Sure, you can put in your guy. You're going to go to tax. Exile some cards here. Just in case something goes wrong, we may as well preserve our life total. Right, so we've exiled a bunch of cards. So we're not going to take any damage from this. What are they going to put in with their Aether Vial? Okay, that doesn't stop them from losing the game here. So we will pay this cost. Go to draw. Play this. Hold priority. Cast Thassa's Oracle. With the trigger on the stack, we're going to activate our Thought Lash until our opponent dies. So our opponent's just doing this so they can see our whole deck. That's why they're making us click through it. So now we have 4 pips and 2 cards in our library. We can leave the Magus of the Moon in a place where they can't see it. Not that I think that's going to be good in this matchup necessarily. We're probably looking at Death and Taxes with a black splash, I guess. Interesting. So what are we going to want to do to stop our opponent here? I'm not convinced that Magus of the Moon is where we want to be. I'm also not massively enamoured by these Flusterstorms either. The Chalice of the Void does stuff, but isn't amazing. Echoing Truth is probably going to be better than these. Flusterstorms are going to try and beat us on a permanent basis. We can play something like a Null Rod to shut off our opponent's Aether Vial and moving over equipment. That's something we can do if we want to. We can also play things like Energy Flux to keep their mana tapped down if they are playing those things. But I think we're best off just boarding a couple of Echoing Truths. And it's just a case of how much do I care about these Chalices. We can leave Magus of the Moon in and maybe we can fetch it and just completely blow our opponent out if they've fetched in a bad way around it. So I don't hate that as a thing we can do. Chalice is one of those weird things where on the play it's going to be pretty good, but on the draw it's going to be a little bit medium. But I'd rather have a proactive, something that I can play reactively like a Null Rod to shut things off, as opposed to having to play this up front to stop their 1-drops. Maybe that is better. A couple of these, which means probably... Just trying to think what they're going to actually play with the... We care about Force of Negationing. Don't really like pitching 2 cards for once. Maybe we do still want a couple of Chalice in. And then we'll bring the Chalice back in on the play, because that can shut off and buy us a couple of turns by getting rid of their Aether Vial. This is not the one, is it? Let's mulligan this. So we have half of our combo. We have a little bit of interaction. We've got the mana for it. I think this is okay. I don't think we really need the Cavern. Let's see what our opponent's up to over there. Swamp, we can get Thought Seized here. Just an Aether Vial. I think this is worth counterspelling. Well, it's slow. Question is, if we counterspell this... No, I think we can hold the counterspell for like hand disruption or something like that. That might be more of an issue for us. A step through. Okay, so we've got the combo halfway to there. The question is, what land do we play out here? That's a real interesting question, because we can play out the Ancient Tomb and cycle this right now. That doesn't really leave us anywhere, because on the next turn, I guess if we draw a Lotus Petal on the next turn, we can just win the game, so we should probably play out the Ancient Tomb, so we're live for the Lotus Petal draw. That makes sense. Inquisition of Kozilek. This is why we held on to the Force of Will. And Marsh Flats. Sure. They got another Thoughtseize effect? They do. Alright. What are they going to take here? This is the thing that gets us our Oracle. The reason I didn't cycle this in response because they'll just take the Oracle, and then there's less ways of drawing Oracle in our deck. Sure. Better lucky than good. Alright, so we've still got the kill on the same turn we would have had the kill, even if they didn't Thoughtseize us. Alrighty. We do need to get through a bit of hand disruption, potentially this turn, and whatever that comes out of this vial. But we will kill them on our next turn. Well, actually, that's not true. These have got to get shuffled into our library. But if they tap out here, right, so put that guy in. Right, let's Wizard Cycle for Thassa's Oracle. Question is, all right, they're putting something in here. What is this? I was going to say, the question is what they get in the vial. Thalia. Okay, that does stop us. But we needed a turn anyway. So the second paradigm shift, not actually that bad for us, because we can shuffle in the Thassa's Oracle if something happens to it, like it gets Thoughtseized out of our hand. Our opponent's got one turn. They've got 3 cards in hand. They're about to draw a 4th. This Thalia did actually slow us down for a turn, so it might be enough for them to get over the finish line here. We'll see. Lorana the Third Path. Okay, that doesn't do it here. They have an Aether Vial though. So if we cast the Thassa's Oracle, they could put in a Skyclave Apparition and kill our Thassa's Oracle, and then we'd have 0 pips. So we have 2 cards now. We can make it 1 card so that we can definitely win next turn. I think we have to do that. So next turn we'll have no cards on our library, so Thassa's Oracle will be lethal. We do lose to a discard spell, but it means we get to win the game next turn. Whereas otherwise you'd have to wait to play around the Skyclave Apparition. Is this something that lets them bash me for 11? So there's a Skyclave Apparition. Yeah, so we've successfully played around that. We just need to dodge a removal spell this turn. Discard spell this turn. 2, 4, 6. Yep. We're dead on their next turn anyway, so let's just see if we can play an Oracle. They drop a Rishdam Port here, we lose. Ah, okay. Oh, of course there's a Loran there, isn't there? Whoopsie daisy. I forgot about that, didn't I? Yeah, that's a bit foolish of me. Alright. Yeah, I don't think we win either line we take there, because if we don't do anything there, then we have to draw 2 more turns, and they'll probably get killed by the lethal damage here. Yeah, that's a tough one. Alright, so we want these 2 chalices back in now, and we'll take out this Magus of the Moon, and we'll take out this... we'll take out one of these Null Rods. We'll take out Force and keep the Null Rod in. Yeah, I like that a bit more. Alright, on the play we should be a lot better. It basically all came down to that Aether Vial. It meant we had to play around the Skyclave Apparition. And we knew that there weren't any lands in our deck to draw into, so we couldn't just say, okay, we'll have another land so we can do Shift Oracle in the same turn. Alright, this is a bit too many chalices for my liking, but we can work with this. So the Chalice shutting off. Have you seen these 2 games? Their main way that they're going to get in at us, really, is having the Chalice so they can flash in things. But we've got a decent amount of stuff here. We just need to find the Oracle. So this should hopefully get rid of a lot of their best lines this game. So don't have to worry about the Aether Vial. They can't have any 1-drop creatures here either. Okay, they want to wasteland us. That's annoying, but that's not the end of the world. We've got mana sources available. Another Chalice. Alright, so we'll just pass the turn. Alright, over to us. A step through. Right. That's one of the pieces we were after. So we just need more land. So if they hadn't wastelanded us, we'd be able to win in a couple of turns. This also shuts off all the discard that can disrupt our hand. Right, I'm going to see Thalia. Sure.
That's not too scary. Let's do some wizard cycling. Get ourselves a little wizard here. Let's get the Oracle. A Thought Lash. So we've missed on the land here. Awkward. We do have an Echoing Truth, but we've signaled to our opponent that Wastelands are very good, but they are an 80 card deck, so the chance of them having multiple Wastelands is a bit low. We can't bounce anything yet because of the Thalia. So not ideal. But the things we're most worried about, hand disruption, instant speed, creatures that shouldn't be instant speed via the Vial, we've got that covered. We just need to survive now. Our opponents will just be putting as many creatures into play as possible and trying to beat us down. Alright, this is going to blow up our Chalice. So if we draw a land, we can play around it. Alright, let's play the Chalice on 1 to shut off all the hand disruption again. Now, if they have a land, they can bounce and replay the Loran on the third path, which is also something that can interact with our Thought Lash and make us exile a whole bunch of stuff if we in response. We can't do it with an empty library because of the Loran right now, which is somewhat awkward. We need more than 4 mana to cast Thought Lash because of Thalia as well. So an Ancient Tomb would be useful here. Obviously, it does hurt our life total, so depending on what they deploy here, it could be problematic for us. But usually getting Thought Lash into play is going to be enough to stop yourself getting it aggroed out. Flicker Wisp. So this is presumably going to mess with our Chalice. Put it on 0. So it's going to shut off our... Oh no. Okay, they're just going to replay the Loran here. And blow up our Chalice that way. Sure. They could have flickered our Chalice and stopped us from being able to use our 0 drops. I think that would have been a better play. Alright, let's go for the Chalice again. We are struggling a bit with the old mana sources, unfortunately. Alright, we're taking a little bit of a hit here. So we need to get this Thought Lash into play this turn cycle. We can do some Echoing Truth shenanigans. Right, so we're going to bounce their Loran and replay it and blow up our Chalice. Sure. Yeah, our opponents had just the right amount of stuff to put the squeeze on us this game. Alright. This isn't enough to... So we have to bounce the Flicker Wisp and then draw another mana source for Thought Lash the following turn. Use Thought Lash to keep ourselves alive. Yeah, a bit of a tough one. But they can use Loran to bounce our... to destroy our Thought Lash, but we can exile a bunch of stuff in response. So we have to do this one, otherwise we die. We go to 1. We're looking for an island off the top. Inquisition of Kozilek. We're going to lose our Oracle here. They have an onboard way of destroying Thought Lash, which is awkward. And then they got the Aether Vial in as well, so they can start doing so they can start playing the Loran every turn. So things are going to get worse for us. But if we don't draw a land now, we're dead anyway. We did not draw a land. We can cast this, we lose. We can't cast anything into Thalia. Yeah, they sort of squeezed us just right in that game. Well played, opponent. GG's. Bit unfortunate. This is kind of why I'm not so high on the Chalice build, because if they were like ways of sculpting our hand instead of the Chalices, then we'd be doing a lot better. Now, obviously, we'd be facing things like Inquisition and Aether Vial, but we'd be able to try and navigate that by finding the right cards rather than just hoping our Chalice works and playing this weird sub-game where they blow our opponent up every turn and we replay it. All right, let's go to round 2. All right, this certainly gets us where we need to be. I think we'll keep this one. We're on the draw. I'd rather not have to Force of Will, but it's an option we have. Once upon a time, I'd like to draw sort of any blue card. Blue card I don't really care too much about would be nice. Alright, the Endurance is an interesting one for the purposes of what we're doing, but it shouldn't really matter. It's not like we're a breakfast deck. Our library's going to be exiled rather than in the graveyard. We'll play Ancient Tomb, we'll play this Lotus Petal. In case we need to Flusterstorm something. Unlikely, but it's there. Our plan is to cast Step Through and then next turn cast Thought Lash and then win the game. A good plan if ever there was one. There's a Horizon Canopy from our opponent. What are we looking at over there? A Collector Oof. How much do I realistically care about Collector Oof? It slows us down a turn, but I honestly don't mind. This is the thing about these decks. They always have the Collector Oof. Sure, we'll take the 1. Let's do some wizard cycling. Thassa's Oracle. Alright, over to us. Force of Will. Okay, so we're pretty protected over here. We've got Force of Will, Flusterstorm, available. Collector Roof doesn't actually stop our combo, it just denies us that 1 mana from Lotus Petal, so it's not actually that big a deal. It's going to delay us a turn, but it's not a very threatening card. Sure, we'll take our powerful 2 points of damage. Looks like they want to cast something off their Dried Arbor. It might just be the endurance to add to the clock, or they might have something a bit scarier. But we've got answers for that, if they do. Let's go for the old Lash. We've got a Force of Will, so what are we worried about? A Green Sun Zenith. Sure, there's endurance we know about. That doesn't really matter to us. I'm going to put our step through back in. Sure. I think that's a mistake because maybe we can draw an additional step through if we don't already have the Thassa's Oracle. Although they know we have the Thassa's Oracle, but if they could somehow deal with this. 5. No damage was taken. We will pay our cumulative upkeep. Right, so we have this. We can deploy a Chalice of the Void just in case our opponent's got any sort of interaction. Like showing them another card, but I think it's worth just saying that we've got this. Now, this does interact with Flusterstorm a little bit, but obviously our Flusterstorm is getting +1 storm, so it's basically the same. It's going to add 2 blue. We're going to cast this Thassa's Oracle with its ability on the stack. We're going to start exiling cards from our opponent just wants to see our whole deck, which is why they're letting us do this. Alright. They can't be bothered to see our whole deck. That's fair enough. Okay, so we're looking at some sort of Abzani list. Potentially, they might not have black mana. Not entirely sure. So what are we looking at here? The Magus of the Moon is probably going to be good to shut down things like Cradle. I don't think Flusterstorm is going to be how we want to interact with this. It can possibly snipe some discard spells, but I think we're better off just with Echoing Truth. It can buy us some time. It can sort of flex around and do some stuff. I think we'll run like this. This is a question that asks, how good is Magus of the Moon going to be? I think I'm going to keep this one. I don't think our opponent's going to see the flex into Magus of the Moon coming. Let's see what they find here. A Windswept Heath. I don't know if they're going to go and get a forest, but the fact that they're not cracking it now is kind of annoying for us trying to make a turn 1 blood Magus of the Moon. Then we have to just not play it. Play out this island. I don't want to play out this Lotus Petal. I don't want to expose it to things like Prismatic Ending. What do we want here? Maybe this was a weird one to keep. Alright, so they got the basics, so we're massively punished for keeping this hand. Yeah, I thought this was not going to work out for us. A Collector Roof. Well, our Magus is bad anyway, so don't really care about that. An Impulse. Alright, this is a good card. This allows us to find something useful. And we can hold up Echoing Truth. Our opponent's got access to a decent chunk of mana there. Still not entirely sure the configuration of their deck. Like, are they into Knight of the Reliquary, so are they sort of like more like Maverick, or who knows? Alright, let's go for an Impulse. Let's take a step through, I think. Guess we're going to shuffle before this matters anyway, so. The bottom cards of our library does matter with this deck, though. How much should I be looking to jam this? I don't think I want to jam this right away. Which means we're probably... I guess we can play the Ancient Tomb. That gives us access to Echoing Truth and Step Through this turn. And then we can follow it up next turn with Thought Lash and a Lotus Petal to win the game in 1 turn. If we use our Echoing Truth. That's certainly an option we have. Because we can bounce this end of turn to access our Lotus Petal. So if our opponent taps out for something here. A Green Sun Zenith for 2. What is this going to be? I don't think we can allow this. So that could have been for something like an Outland Liberator, which can kind of force us into a weird spot with our Thought Lash. Let's do some Wizard Cycling. Cavern of Souls. How excited by Cavern of Souls am I? Not especially. Let's cast this Thought Lash. We no longer have Force of Will protection. Just keep our exile in view because we might be losing cards from him. We can't lose all of our oracles if this one gets snatched. I haven't really shown us much to do with this black mana yet. Okay, so they're doing this for 2 again. Okay. This is Outland Liberator. It is the Outland Liberator. Okay, that doesn't actually matter here. If that's what they're doing, we can just exile enough cards that it doesn't matter. Provided our Oracle can stick. Double Oracle is pretty tasty though. So we will name Merfolk here. Should have named Wizard, but we're in the position we're about to win the game, I think. So we will cast this. Blue. Blue. Okay. So they're cracking the Verdant Catacombs, presumably try and blow up our Thought Lash in response, but we can just activate this in response. Right, let's exile some cards. Alright, they're conceding there. So we have the second Oracle, but there's nothing they can even have anyway. So this sort of matchup generally feels pretty good because they're sort of like a fair deck and we are not a fair deck. So we have a reasonable edge and our mana base isn't that fragile or anything. So, alright, let's go to round 3. We are 1-1. If this hand had more mana, I'd be into it, but on the play, I don't think we can keep this. Yeah, this is okay. I wish I had the Spell Seeker to go and find with this, but is this actually good enough? We can go get another wizard. Suppose we can keep this. Probably throwing back one of these caverns. Don't really want to play cavern until we go off. I'd rather have some other blue sources. So we have the Lotus Petal, so we might be able to do a Magus of the Moon line. We also have the cavern as well for that. A Mox Diamond. Okay, so we might be doing alright if we go get the Magus of the Moon. We shall see though. Smallpox. Not a fan of that one. Guess we lose the cavern. Yikes. Smallpox, you say? Not an enormous fan of smallpox. Guess we play out the petal. Yeah, this could be a little bit of a challenge one for us, but we can have a reasonable amount of time here. Okay, so we're doing a ritual into Liliana. This is worth counterspelling, I think. So the thing with Pox is it sometimes struggles to win the game, so it can restrict your resources, but then give you a lot of time to just get back in the game. We've got a Flusterstorm. Our opponent's on 1 mana over there. Oof, this is a good find. We can find some more mana to go with it. They can really pump out some tokens and cause us some damage. Cavern of Souls. Put wizards and pass. So if our opponent misses on a mana now, that'd be nice for us. Okay, so we don't have to face down big tokens, but they can go and get something else. Alright. We're back up to having more mana again. What is going to come out of this Urza Saga? Genuinely not sure. Could be Curse Scroll, Retrofit's Foundry, Pithing Needle, whole host of things. Currency Converter, yeah. What is this? Green mana. Life from a Loam. We say no to this one. So they've shown us they don't have any more mana. So that will stay countered for a while at least. Force of Will. I don't really want to just beat down here. We can hardcast this Force of Will though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got the next scary thing they do covered. As long as it's a spell. But if they find a land here, then they can start dredging. Thoughtseize. No. Do we need to keep our Thassas here? Like if we draw Paradigm Shift, we're not a million miles away from winning the game. Thought Lash we can't cast right now though. A Lotus Petal. I think we keep this one in hand in case we get hit by something like a Smallpox. At least it doesn't take our Oracle. So it's some way towards assembling a kill. A Wasteland. Alright. Are they going to take the tomb or are they going to take our island? Our Soaring City? I would take the Otawara if I were them. But they might just want to regrow the Life from Alone first. That's probably where I would want to go. The Wasteland also means we will struggle potentially to cast our combo here. So it can take us off mana quite easily. Going... Okay, that's kind of best case scenario for us, I think. If they took our blue source, that would be bad. And they're not Life from Loaming there, so that's also pretty good. Chalice on 1, I will cast that. We could put Chalice on 2 if we had more mana, and that would shut down some things. But this will stop us getting Thoughtseized. Now, they probably don't run Chalice in their own builds instead Dark Ritual and Thoughtseize in there. But there are Smallpox builds that do run Chalice because they can kind of ignore it a little bit if you build that way. A Lotus Petal. Sure, I think we'll keep these in hand just so we have more things to keep in hand if we get Smallpoxed. In case they are running regular Pox, I think I want to play out one of my cards when I hit 4 cards. Alright. Basic Island. Big fan of that. So if we draw Thought Lash, we can cast it. If we draw Paradigm Shift, we can cast it. We're doing alright. Paradigm Shift is going to be very slow to win the game, but we are playing against Pox, so... Him to Turak. That's a nasty one. Alright, we lost our Thassa's Oracle. Now if we draw a Paradigm Shift, we can still cast it and put the Thassa's Oracle into our deck. A Lotus Petal. I think at this point we will play these out because we don't really need to keep them in hand to try and defend our Thassa's Oracle for stuff like that. Alright, we've drawn all 4 Lotus Petals. They can start activating their currency converter. They've dredged life from Malone. So things are going to start getting a bit annoying for us soon. Because they can start wastelanding us every turn if they want to. And eventually they'll find some way of winning the game. Yep, so they can basically draw 3 cards a turn now. And one of those cards destroys our land. To be fair, you know, they're only getting lands there. But Urza Saga, when they get round to it, is going to be able to win in the game. So if we don't do anything on our next turn, they'll probably just play out the Urza Saga. Yeah, so we play an island. Our opponent plays Urza Saga and starts making constructs. They did not play out the Saga. That's interesting to me. Wait, did they not return the Saga? I don't think they did, actually. That's wild. So this currency converter can... Okay, they're not putting a treasure underneath it. Odd. Passageway Seer. Okay. You can do that with an Urza Saga as well. I think it's probably better, but... This is going to be a little bit problematic for us, I would imagine. We're not going to have enough time to cast a Paradigm Shift here, so we're going to have to kind of draw runner here. Step through. Is there a good wizard we can actually find in this spot? We can get the bouncy wizard, or we can kind of hope that our opponent doesn't mess with our hand and we can just get there. Yeah, I think we just step through for Thassa's Oracle and try and... I don't think we're going to win a fair game here. We don't have, like, the Feywild Enchanter or whatever it's called. I think our plan here is just try and draw the thing we need. We need to find a Thought Lash after we cycle this. Yep, here come the Wasteland and the Saga. So we take 5 this turn, 10 next turn. So if they make any threat right now, then they can kill us, but we might get one more turn. Sure, looks like we're going to get one more turn, I think. Unless they've got another... aggressive. Okay, so we don't get any more turns. Understood. So they hit us for 5. Next turn, they hit us for 10, 11. Wait, no, is that still one more turn? 12. You know, it's 12 because of the passageway shit. That's right. This grows every turn. Yep, so they have Exactly's next turn. So we have to cycle this step through for a wizard of the Thassa's Oracle variety. And then we just need to draw the thing and win the game. Not the thing. All right. We can play this Thassa's Oracle, and they can just make an Urza Saga token and then use that to kill our thing and kill us through blockers. So we'll concede. And if we use this, how are we winning the game at that point anyway? All right. I like the Magus of the Moon here, so that's nice. Null Rod seems interesting here. Echoing Truth is quite interesting in the face of things like Smallpox. You can sort of bounce things to their hand. Same with Liliana. You can definitely get some interesting work done there. I don't think I'm ever going to have enough mana to cast a Fairy. Do I want things like Force of Negation just to stop Smallpox in the first place? So these are the things I'm considering. How much space do we have? Being able to bounce something feels very useful. Flusterstorm is a 1-mana counter for Smallpox. That seems good. How useful is the Chalice? It stops them casting discard spells on us, which is something we definitely want. We don't need the Malevolent Hermit. That can go. And yeah, so currently we've got 4 cards over. So we can have the Null Rods, or we can have the Force of Negations, or we can have the Echoing Trees, but we can't have all of them. What is more important to me here? Interesting. Don't really want the Force of Negations against the making me discard spells deck, I don't think. Maybe we could trim Chalices, but that seems a bit mad to me. Could trim on some Petals, but the fast mana is going to be very good against someone who's planning on messing with our mana base. Don't really like trimming the step throughs. I guess we could trim like an Impulse and 1 step through. Try something like that. I think the last time I played this deck, it was with 4 Spellseeker in, and they felt really good because they can find you whatever you need, really. We will be on the play. We are 1 mana away from... But this is not a permanent mana source. I think we have to mulligan. Okay. Shut off their Null Rod. Counter the scary thing they do. Have basic lands to dodge Wasteland. I think as a keep, but it's not very nice. Let's play out this island and see how we do. An Urborg and a pass. Okay. We'll jam this Null Rod. Shut off the Mox Diamond. It doesn't shut off that much from our opponent's deck, to be fair. But they're trying to get above Smallpox using Mox Diamond as a general rule. So if we can shut that down, it's not the worst. It does make it harder to cast the Magus for us, which is certainly a thing. Him to Turak. Would I rather discard... Yeah, I think I'd rather discard 2 cards at random. Right, so we've still got Force of Will blue card. Going to need a little bit of help here, though. Right, an island. Let's try that out. Yeah. Not convinced by this Null Rod. Basic Forest. So our Magus plan looking less good, although we can shut off them with black mana if we can put Magus in on this board. Smallpox. So what would we lose? We'd lose 1 card in hand and 1 of these lands. I think we're supposed to counter the Smallpox here. If we don't counter this, we're not really countering anything. We do need to try and cast a 4-drop quite often in our deck, so step through. Alright, we'll pass. Bayou. Look at Passageways Seer. Okay. So they've got a win condition. That's a pretty good one. Are we supposed to try and contest this? I don't think so. I don't think that gets us anywhere. I think we are on the cycle plan and try and win the game. Yeah, I don't think Aether Channeler is really going to cut it here, is it? An island. Okay. So we have a Thought Lash that we can cast if it comes up. We can cast Paradigm Shift and then maybe survive a turn or two. Feels like our opponent just got us here. They're attacking us on the axis of lands in play and cards in hand, which is quite a strong way to tackle the old Lash Gordon deck. And, you know, we don't really have answers to creatures, and Passageway Seer is an initiative creature, so it's pretty strong. This Null Rod just rotting away in play also feels pretty terrible. Cavern of Souls. Right, play this out on Wizard. So what have we got? 14 life. We're taking 5 plus 7 this turn. Yeah, gonna be tough to win this one. Now, Thassa's Oracle, sorry, not Thassa's Oracle, Thought Lash can keep us alive. Okay, Bowmasters. So there's 4, so there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. All right, we have one more draw step. If it's Thought Lash, we're doing okay. But it has to be exactly Thought Lash. That will let us survive a turn, and then we can play the Oracle and win. Wait, have I done my maths wrong here? 6, 7, 8. No, that's exactly lethal, isn't it? Alright, we're just dead there. Okay, we got pretty slaughtered against the old Pox. I'm not really enjoying this particular build of Lash Gordon, but we've got 2 more rounds, so let's see if we can turn it around and get some wins on the board. Alright, we're on the play. Our hand does the things, we just need a bit more mana. We've got some interaction, seems like a good keep. A bit more like it. Ancient Tomb can certainly come in handy. We've got Flusterstorm as a nice bit of keeping our hand safe from discard. Or stopping anything broken on the other side of the table, potentially. Agadeem. This could be Oops or Spells. Elvish Spirit Guide. Cabal Ritual. This is going up to 3 mana. I think we have to Flusterstorm this one. The only deck that would do this start, I think, is Oops or Spells. So what this does is you've taken an Elvish Spirit Guide and a Cabal Ritual. The magic number of mana they need to hit is 4, although they can play 3 mana, play the guy, and then go again on the following turn. Alright. Chalice of the Void. What number are we supposed to play this on? That is an interesting question. I think if we play it on 0, it stops Chrome Mox, it stops Summoner's Pact. Sure, I think we play on 0. Chrome Mox, Summoner's Pact, Lotus Petal, Pact of Negation. Not that that's really going to come up. So I think this is relatively sensible. This also means we get the impulse, because we need to further our own game plan, because if you give your opponent enough time, they will assemble the things to win the game. Because all the cards in their entire deck are dedicated to doing the thing of producing the mana, making the guy. Right, turn Timber. Is this tapped or untapped? Hopefully tapped. Oh no, untapped. That's terrible news for us. Cabal Ritual. We're going to cast this Impulse. None of these do the thing we need, but we do have an Ancient Tomb, which gives us the win. Alright. Anyway, it doesn't matter for now. So, we do get to Cabal Ritual here. There's the Undercity Informer. So, we need to draw our Aether Channeler here and bounce it. A Thought Lash. Is it worth us playing this Thought Lash when our opponent can just win the game next turn? Do we want to show our opponent what we're doing? I guess we'll play our Ancient Tomb. I guess it doesn't really matter what we're doing here, right? Because our opponent isn't going to care about what we're doing. They're just going to care about how they win the game. So let's do this, and the fact that we're still playing maybe makes our opponent make an error. Seems unlikely. We can at least see their deck as well. because they're playing the 60 card build when I normally play the 61 card build when I play Oops. Right, so the Chalice is going to counter their thing, sure. It's going to crack their guy, they're going to show us their graveyard. I want to see your deck, opponent, and then I can concede. Anything unusual here? So this means they don't have the reanimate. That's usually the 61st card. They haven't randomly cut something to fit it into the main 60 that I can see. No, okay. Alright. Not ideal. So Teferi, not really going to cut it. Null Rod, pretty good at stopping with their fast mana. We want some more counter spells. We want some Faerie Macabres. I don't think we need anything like this. Mages of the Moon, you're too slow to do anything. Aether Channeler, I don't think you're going to be good enough here, even though we had a line where it could have been not terrible. Malevolent Hermit is non-creature spells. So it counters something, so I'll take it. Probably does stuff that makes us go faster. Or do we? Do we just go slower and try and control the game a little bit more? This lets us do Chalice for 1 on turn 1 more easily. But we're bringing in these Null Rods. And I guess we take out an Impulse. It's got a load of counter magic. We'll hope that we get there. Chalice plus counter spell. We can't play Chalice on 1 though. We can play Chalice on 0. And then next turn we can play Chalice on 1. And then we can try and win the game at some point. Opponent will have access to things like Force of Vigor. But they have to play against counter spells and permanents like Chalice. So it's going to be a bit tricky for them. Academe, tapped or untapped opponent. Untapped. Alright. If I had the option of doing this on the Chalice on 1 on turn 1, I would definitely take that because it shuts off their Dark Ritual, which is their biggest jump in mana. It shuts off their Thought Season and stuff. Let's play this. Let's play Chalice on 1. And we have the Force of Will to defend from the Force of Vigor that they might have in a second. Force of Vigor pitching Wild Cantor. Say no to this, keep both of our Chalices in play. Like, they can still win through this, but this also means that if they draw the Dread Return or the Thassa's Oracle, they can't get out of their hand very easily because they can't cast a Cabal Therapy. But also means they don't get discard, they don't get the best mana in their deck. We have a Cavern of we have an Impulse ready to go. Try and find. Alright, we've got another layer of protection here. I'll name Wizard. Wirefly. It's an interesting creature type. We'll Impulse off of the Cavern of Souls and Island just in case we feel the need to cast a Flusterstorm. Not sure why we'd need to do that in step, but it's there. Feel like we have this game not sewn up, but we are firmly in the driving seat. I guess we take the... Interesting, what do we take here? Probably the Paradigm Shift. Any order. It's not going to matter, I don't think, here. Chalice of the Void. Another Chalice for 1? I think so. We don't have Brainstorms or anything to put it back. We may as well just have a bit more defense here. Just looking for a way of finding an Oracle. Right, so we're on to discards. They can discard the Dread Returns and things now as well. Okay, so we can hard cast the Force of Negation. We're just waiting for the ability to actually win the game. The fact that we shot off so much of our opponent's deck means there's not many things we actually have to counter. Force of Negation can't counter their creatures though, which is really important to note. So you either have to counter the mana, or if in the situation we're in, we can wait for them to cast Dread Return and then counter that because they can't Cabal Therapy us. Force of Will as well, okay. If things go really badly, we can Force of Will plus Force of Negation. And we've got Faerie Macabre up. Now, our opponent can go to a beatdown strategy at some point, which might be able to beat us because we're not really great versus that. Memory's Journey's gone. Okay, more permission. It's not what we need to win the game with, but it feels like losing the game is going to be a bit difficult to do. Unless they just make creatures and beat down. But if they make the Undersea Informer or the Balustrade Spy, we'll counter that anyway. So it's like Sim and Spirit Guide beatdown is the thing I'm actually most worried about now, which is weird. Or I suppose more Elvish Spirit Guide than Simian because they don't have any starting red mana and they're not going to be able to access starting red mana without 0-drop stuff. And the Wild Cantor's already gone as well. Not that they can cast under the Chalice. We're looking at here, Foundation Breaker. So they can get rid of our Chalice for 0 if they want to. Or we could Force of Will this. We'll Force of Will this, pitching the Flusterstorm. Because we can hard cast the Force of Negation. Maybe at some point we can win this game. Otawara. Sure. This means you can paradigm shift and cast Thassa's Oracle in the same turn. Not that I think that's necessarily going to be a thing we're going to want to do, looking at the amount of cards in our graveyard. Alright, so they're in hard casting the guy's territory here. Yep, there he is. Your friend of mine, Undercity Informer. An Impulse. I don't even think we need to cast that here. You just hold open this Force of Negation. If our opponent doesn't try and combo us off, then we can cast the Impulse. If they do combo us off, they'll lose the game, I suspect, because they can't cast any of their protection spells. We've got so many layers of defense here. They're definitely supposed to attack first, I think. Even if they are going to go for it here. Sure, you can have your Narcomoeba. So our plan here is to Faerie Macabre and then Force of Negation the Memory's Journey that they're going to cast. Right, so now it's our time to discard this. We will exile Thassa's Oracle and the Memory's Journey, I guess. There's only one Memory's Journey in there, right? So that forces them to cast it now, and then we can just Force of Negation it. We don't have to worry about any pacts because of the Chalice. It just doesn't get anything back, and they lose the game on the next turn. We don't need to cast Impulse, we can just... I guess we can cast it if we want to, but I'm not really sure why we need to. They had a lot less Giant as well, which I actually missed when I was going through it just then. That's an interesting way of getting around it. This should be game. Like, either we hit both the guys and then counter the Memory's Journey, or we hit the Memory's Journey and the guy and counter the thing. Let's look more carefully at our opponent's deck here. Yeah, I shortcut that a bit in my brain, and that was not really where it needs to be, was it? Pass the turn, let our opponent die in the draw step. So think about oops. If you can stop them doing all their stuff, they will lose to themselves. Do I want to change anything here? Right, Magus of the Moon has text in terms of stopping them accessing black mana, which can be important. But I don't think that's necessarily better than just having counter spells and stuff. Then we'll just resubmit. Our deck's pretty hateful. They did see kind of like all of our stuff here though. They know we've got Chalices, they know we've got Fairies, they know we've got counter spells. We need more interaction and we need more mana, so let's mulligan. A single Faerie Macabre and no ability to cast a Flusterstorm. Not great. Our opponent's gone to 5 though. No, I think we'll mulligan this. Alright. It's got some spells here. Got some spells. Alright, 2 of these have got to go. Counter spells, pretty useful. I think that means we're getting rid of Null Rod and one of these 2. It's a case we do want to just find more ways of stopping our opponent winning the game, or do we actually want to have a thing that can potentially block them if they try and play the guys. I think for that reason we're going to keep the Oracle. The Oracle's easier to cast. Well, is it easier to cast? It's easier to cast with Cavern. Well, it's not true, is it, actually? Think about it. Because the Ancient Tomb can cast the other one and the Cavern can still cast the... Ignore me. Alright. How many things are we looking at here? Is this going to be a Wild Cantor? Okay, that's fine. 3 cards left on our opponent's hand. They're just on the beatdown plan. That's why we kept the 1-3. It blocks their 2-3s, their 1-1, and their 2-2s. Alright, we have a plan. If we can find a little bit more mana. Yep. Just on the 19 turn beatdown strat. That seems fine to me. Then we can beat that if we draw another land. Another Thassa's Oracle. Okay, at least we got something that we can pitch to a Force of Will. A Dark Ritual. Sure, I think we'll let them spend the mana here. We've got 2 layers of counter spells here. Well, technically 3, right? Simeon Spirit Guide. Balustrade Spy. Let's do a Force of Will. Pitching Thassa's Oracle. We don't really want a Thassa's Oracle in our graveyard if we can avoid it. Because our opponent can... Okay, a Pact of Negation. Opponent's got 1 card in hand. So I think we are on Force of Will targeting Balustrade Spy. Pitching Paradigm Shift. And let them lose their own Pact of Negation. That's our win condition here. Alright. A bit of a ridiculous stack there. And then they'll lose to this Pact of Negation trigger. And another piece of interaction, just in case. Alright. We got another win there, so we're 2-2 going for the positive record in the final round. Let's see if we can make it. Alright, we're on the draw. We've got some of the stuff we want. I think we can keep this. Alright, begin with an island. Polluted Delta from our opponent. And casting a spell now, they're just leaving a fetch in play. Grief, pitching Witherbloom Apprentice. We have a decent amount of redundancy here. I think we can let this hit. I think it's worth pitching 2 cards for. Right, we're taking our Force of Will. Are we getting reanimated on? No. Okay. Chalice of the Void. I think I'm going to play the Ancient Tomb so I can play around with something like a Daze here when I'm playing our Chalice of the Void for 1. This is something like Death's Shadow. A Chalice on 1 is incredibly potent. If it's Reanimator, Chalice on 1's also still pretty good. Force of Will, pitching Uro. Okay, so we're looking like the Bug Scam deck. But they did have Witherbloom Apprentice, so whichever way they're going with it, they've got a little flourish. Feels like they're playing another deck with the combo tucked in rather than a dedicated Witherbloom deck. So I'm not sure if they're in a Shadow Shell, a Bug Scam Shell, or what. Feels more like towards the Bug, but we'll see. Alright, there's a guy. Are we going to die soon? Interesting. We'll play this out on Wizard with the intention of casting an Impulse in our opponent's turn to find a Force of Will if we have to. Because they could try a Chain of Smog here and just win the game. A Brainstorm. That's okay. Reanimate. Targeting Grief. Not an enormous lover of this. Let's go for an Impulse. See if we can find something of use here. We can find a Step Through, but we'll lose that to the Grief. Interesting. I think we take a Thought Lash here. That way, if we draw a land, we can definitely deploy a Thought Lash and save ourselves some damage. This is loss of life, though. Because if we get the Step Through, they're definitely taking a Step Through. This way, they don't have a good choice here, so it kind of blanks the Grief a little bit. A Force of Will. Okay, a little bit late there. We can't cast a Paradigm Shift because we don't have Thassa's Oracle in the first place, so not great. So it's a 3-turn clock, so we're going to need to do something. And obviously our Ancient Tomb can impact our life total. So if we can find a blue land, blue producing land, that would be useful for casting Thought Lash at the very least. What is this nonsense? Orcish Bowmasters. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I don't think we can allow this to resolve. Our opponent's deck doesn't run any basic lands, I don't believe, if it's based off the Scam mana base. Right, we can play this on Wizard. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we tap our Ancient Tomb, any spell kills us. So I guess we need to draw a blue land and take 5 here. And then draw a Thassa's Oracle. Nothing. Sure. Right, all the Thought Lashes. All the Lash, none of the Gordon. Alright, so I know Mages of the Moon is probably going to be pretty good against what our opponent's doing. They're doing the whole scam thing, so I don't really want to be playing a bunch of extra bits and pieces here. Teferi is going to be useful. Keeping it, but I don't really want to bounce the sort of things that they're trying to approach this game with. We do need to kind of worry about the, what's he called? Witherbloom Apprentice. We've also seen Uro, which is a thing that Faerie Macabre is used for. So it's interesting. We kind of have to respect them as a combo deck as well as a deck with a reasonable beatdown strategy too. I guess we can have one of these Echoing Truths. Maybe we should have more counter spells for this, but I think our plan most of the time is going to be get the Magus down if we can find it. I don't know who's... This is an interesting one. I think they're the aggro and we're trying to combo off, but they can also pivot into the combo, so it's going to be interesting. It's quite an interesting hybrid that they've got here. This is an interesting hand. It requires a little bit of work. We can... we can't be Thought Seized off of our combo. We've got interaction for their combo. I think we do keep this one. The hands with this particular version of the build just don't really fill me with a great deal of joy, if I'm being honest. Do we play out this Lotus Petal now? I don't think so. It's unlikely to matter, but the more cards we have in hand, the better, I think. Don't let our opponent know that we might be able to accelerate something really scary out. Right, Tropical Island. We'll play our Cavern on Wizard, and hopefully our opponent will just go for the combo and we can just counter it and then be happy. A Wasteland. Annoying, but not the end of the world. A Chalice. Okay. Some Wizard. We'll deploy a Lotus Petal. Deploy our Chalice for 1. Let's see if our opponent wants to do anything about this. It might just be a brainstorm in response, whether or not it's to find an answer to this or just to get the use of the brainstorm. A Force of Will pitching Uro. This is worth a Flusterstorm to me. Shuts off hand disruption from our opponent. Shuts off a bunch of other things too, like cantrips, brainstorms and all that lot. Alright, so there's a brainstorm. They can still grief, unfortunately, but they can't reanimate it if this is in play. Alright. We're in with a Chalice. With Rainforest from our opponent, they can shuffle away the one card that's still on top from the brainstorm. With a Blue Apprentice, sure. If they just go for it next turn, we do have the Force of Negation available, but they might have some sort of... I guess they have to target themselves and lose all their hand first. Right, so we can hard cast the Force of Negation as well now if we want to. Or we can... We don't really have to play around days, because our opponent, if they're going for the combo, we can let them empty their hand first, and then counter the last instance of it before they go, after they've gone empty-handed. It's kind of the problem with this combo. An Uro. Alright, that's a pretty good way of trying to win the game for our opponent there. A Wasteland. Sure, pretty annoying. Goodbye, Cavern of Souls. And we're going to take a bash from this Witherbloom Apprentice. If our opponent finds another blue source next turn, or a green source, then they can recur the Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Don't really have a clean answer right now. Alright. Let's do the thing, I suppose. There is a Thought Lash. Our opponent might feel obligated to go for it this turn, in case we can combo them next turn. But that would need us to have an island and a Thassa's Oracle. So they might just go for an Uro here. Seems like a pretty safe bet. It means we have to exile large chunks of our library. So if we don't actually have access to the Thassa's Oracle, which we don't right now, then we can risk milling it over while we're trying to keep ourselves alive. Didn't mill over an Oracle. And prevent the damage. Okay. Black and a blue. What are we looking at here? A chain of smog targeting themselves. Okay. So they're going to discard their hand. And then copy it. And then this time we will Force of Negation it. Now they are hellbent. This means that they're just going to unload into an Uro, which is pretty strong. We will pay our upkeep. If you don't pay it, you lose your whole library anyway. So, Echoing Truth. That's a card that has text, which is nice. Can do something. It can stop this Uro from connecting with us. Let's pay 1 life. Oh, sorry, prevent 1 damage. Save ourselves some life. We're going to bring back their Uro here. We could bounce this end of turn if we want to. This will buy us a lot of time. But it will lose us the ability to interact with them if they find the Chain of Vapor. Because you can bounce the Witherbloom back to the hand. Alright, so I'm putting a land into play here. And not putting a land into play. Are we supposed to Chain of Vapor? I don't think we are. Alright, let's pay some Thought Lash. None of our combo bits, or bits that find the combo. Magus of the Moon. Are we paying 6 life here? Are we bouncing the Uro? Cracking the Misty Rainforest? I think we might bounce the Uro at end of turn here. It's annoying that they get more cards. Paradigm Shift, sure. So that's one of our oracles down, but we've still got the step 3s. We'll take a little bit of damage there, that's fine. Let's bounce this. If we bounce this now, then they can't attack with it next turn. They have to redeploy it next turn. And they don't have the mana to do front and back side. Right, now would be a good time to find a useful card. Is this a useful card? It does block. Let's pay 2 life here. And then do this, because Ancient Tomb is damage. This doesn't do anything this turn. Apart from threaten to block the Witherbloom Apprentice. But we're dead to a Chain of Smog. Orcish Bowmasters. Okay, this is probably going to kill our Malevolent Hermits, I would imagine. Sure. This is why I didn't want to play many Malevolent Hermits. It was there just as a thing to tutor for. Previous builds that I played had multiple Malevolent Hermits. Now they've sort of been reduced. How much damage is this? 4. How many cards got left in our library? 28 is plenty. 2, 3, 4. Step 3 gone as well. So how many oracles? We've lost 2 oracles and 1 step through so far. So statistically speaking, we've still got a whole bunch in there. Another oracle and a step through. Okay. Otawara. Can't actually use that for anything. We can play it. We don't want to play it into a wasteland though. Just want to keep it in hand. Do we play out this Malevolent Hermit? I think we do. Take damage from that. We might have to start taking damage now because we can't afford to... Alright, that Force of Witness, sure. We can't afford to allow our last Thassa's Oracle to be milled, but we might not have a choice. Not milled, exiled. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we do have to prevent some of this. That'll probably be enough for now. We can't lose too many cards here. 17 cards left. 2 step throughs, 1 Thassa's Oracle left in our deck, I think. The Brainstorm, this is just to drain us for 1. They don't have the cards to completely drain us out this turn. Uro, don't care about that, that's fine. Just need to find a Thassa's Oracle. Like, it might not resolve, but it's what we got. A Reanimate just to drain us for 1. Yep. Alright, this is the time deck. There's the last Thassa's Oracle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we can't win with Thassa's Oracle. How are we supposed to win the game now? I don't think we are. Let's concede this one. Yeah, so I lost all of my Thassa's Oracle in that last one. So 2-3, not a very good record. We did brick a lot on draws, but that is a problem with this construction of the deck that I'm going to go into in a second. So, yeah. This is my least favourite build of this deck that I've played so far. Let's have a look at the list. So, what this deck does is it gives up the ability to play any sort of cantrips to find your bits and pieces, right? Preordain is something that a lot of the builds like to run because we don't have fetches, so Brainstorm's not great. And Ponder, unless you want all 3, is a bit awkward. But Preordain is something that we could have in here, which would just really smooth out the draws nicely and sort of progress us into sort of turns 2 and 3 a lot smoother and help us find things, give us better top decks. But because we're running Chalice, we don't have that option. And we're running Impulse, which 2 mana is so much. It really is an astronomical amount of mana to spend on something like that. So I just don't really like that. Malevolent Hermit in the world of Orcish Bowmasters isn't very good. Now, as a thing that you can tutor for, it's nice to have because you get the disturb side of it when you need to. So you've basically got like a mana leak for 1 mana into a making all your stuff uncounterable, which is really handy. So you can resolve your non-creature spells like your Lash and things like that. So that's definitely... I can definitely see why it's in the deck and what it's useful for, even though it's gone from being a 3 to 4 of to being a 1 of. Now the question is having it as a 1 of even good enough anymore? Because when are you going to tutor for this when you could be tutoring for either your combo piece or something like a Teferi that does similar things to Malevolent Hermit? Tough to say. Yeah, I just don't really like this build, if I'm being honest with you. We did get a little bit rocked with our mana base sometimes as well. And we didn't have the way of smoothing our draws out, which feels weird playing a blue deck that's not very good at sculpting its hand. We definitely kept some hands that were like not ideal, but the problem is we can't just have a hand and say, oh, look, it's got a Ponder or a Brainstorm in it. That kind of fixes things for us. We don't get that luxury in this deck. So we're kind of having to keep some less exciting looking hands because of the nature of the deck, because it doesn't have... You know, you can have the really exciting hand. Maybe we could mulligan slightly deeper to try and combo people super early. But we haven't got Chrome Moxes. I think if you want to do that, you're probably playing Chrome Moxes in your deck so you can power out a lot quicker. But that's not exactly where we're at with this list. So my overall verdict on this one is definitely a no from me. I think the previous build I played on my channel for Lash Gordon was a lot better. It just felt smoother. Obviously, the meta has shifted now. But I'm not sure I want to be playing a Chalice deck. I've got some other ideas I want to test for this. Like I said, I'm thinking about this as one of my options to take to European Legacy Masters in September. Whether or not I do go with something like this remains to be seen. I'm trying out a load of builds and different tech and stuff. And if I can find something I do like, then I'll sort of drill down into it and have a lot more time with a specific list. At the moment, I'm just trying to find the one that feels best to me. Maybe I'll try the Pure Sight Mero builds. I'm not sure about that. I kind of do like this sort of list. I don't really want to play the list that has a whole bunch of X1s in now because, you know, X1s are incredibly bad in the world of Orcish Bowmasters, which does also make cantrips worse. But I'm not really sure what the solution to this little problem is going to be. But I'll have a think on it and see what I come up with. There's definitely a lot of play with the whole Thought Lash, Thassa's Oracle type stuff going on. But you do kind of wonder, we're so cold to so many things with this deck. Like, creatures that get in play just get to beat us down unless we have the Thought Lash. But in that last one, we had the Thought Lash. We did exile stuff. Now, it's, you know, a little bit unlikely, but we don't have the cantrips and stuff, so we're not likely to sculpt our hand in a way that we can find the things that get us our Oracle or whatever. And our mana base is surprisingly vulnerable, I would say, because we do have these 8 lands that can just get wastelanded, and we also have these 2 Otawaras that also get wastelanded. So we're struggling to interact on certain axes, and we're not blisteringly fast with things like Chrome Mox. So we're kind of in a weird spot with this list, and we're just hoping that Chalice is good, whereas a lot of decks can beat Chalice these days. Chalice is definitely good versus like your Delver and Death Shadow style decks, and I think Delver is the best deck right now. But they have a really handy 2-drop they can play now, that is the Orcish Bowmasters, and they can just funnel a load of cards into their graveyard through a Chalice and play a Murktide. Like, it's still got Murktides and they've got Bowmasters. They've just got less stuff in the 1-drop slot, so they're kind of less cold to Chalice in terms of threats, but it does stop their disruption. But the fact that they are now a Thoughtseize deck as well is also a bit of a bother. The sideboard was more or less fine. I just think the actual basic premise of this version of the list isn't where I want to be. And with that, I think we are done for today. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the Patreon link below. If you just want to give me a couple of quid a month, say thanks for making 5 videos a week, I'd appreciate that. It takes a lot of time and effort to do these. And, you know, I'm not the wealthiest man in the world, so I wouldn't mind a little bit of extra help financially, but obviously only if you've got it spare. The main thing is just keep watching, enjoy the content, share it around, and just revel in the wonder that is the Legacy format. All right, thanks for watching, and goodbye.